it's y'all's preference.
You want to ask the audience if anybody wants to talk about any of them first? Any of them controversial?
Well, Blake, if there is a motion presented to do a consent agenda, to do all those at once, then I'm gonna ask for public comment if anybody's got any questions to each one of them.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
I mean, since we don't have like designated like consent agenda, so like we're gonna ask for public comments after each one of them, just in case we have someone
Okay,
from the public.
are you gonna read each one of them?
Yeah,
It's up to you.
that's what they made us do last time.
Okay, all right. Then, we're gonna go normal, or anybody wanna?
It's a little.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Hitting the wrong button. There we go. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we consider items A through J as a consent agenda, subject to public comment.
Got a motion?
I'd like to second that motion.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Then I'll let you read through those, and after you read one, then I'll ask if there's any public comment on that particular item. Does everybody understand what we're doing? Okay.
And we have presentation, so we'll go through the presentation and we'll ask.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item A is the Bryce Benton minor subdivision. It's a two-lot split. Do we have any public comment?
Do we need to present it first?
Oh,
We have to present it first.
the Bryce Benton subdivision is a two-track split consisting of about 2.97 acres and nearly 2 acres off the Gem Road. There are no technical concerns. Item B is the Davidson Sanders replat minor subdivision. It is basically a lot line adjustment of 5 larger lots. No concerns from neighbors.
We're gonna read them one by one. Let's do one by one and ask the public. Doing one by one and ask the public after each presentation. Yeah.
So, please come forward.
Now, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lynn Fitzpatrick. I'm the immediate neighbor on the property, 16429 North River Ridge Road. I'd like to comment on the neighborhood characteristics. There are only 3 houses visible from the road until Ryan Anderson, property owner, built his house without a well and without a septic system. He piggybacked onto his mother's well and septic. The property, most houses have 8 to 14 acres, single houses that are set way back from the road in a wooded condition. There are many retirees in the neighborhood. I think this sets a precedent for if they should sell their homes. It sets a precedent for subdividing lots, which has never happened, has never been part of the covenants. The property characteristics, it's a forested hill, very rocky. I wonder if it'll require clear-cutting trees, making visibility from the road very obvious. It's very close, the property as it's been split is incredibly close to the other 2 houses that have been built on that lot. There are no inspections required where we live, so I wonder about the quality of those houses. There's no electricity, no water to those locations, and there's no site access. In terms of the character of the owner of the property, I confronted him during the construction of his home when his workers were putting trash in my trash receptacles, loose. I thought it was going to be a very simple, could you please just have your guys not put trash in there. Instead, it turned into a verbal confrontation in which he assaulted me by pushing me with his chest back down his driveway. I had to call the police. So I questioned the character of the owner. Those are my comments.
Anyone else want to comment on that one? All right. Blake?
The next item is the Staub minor subdivision. It is a 3-tract split consisting of about 8.5 acres, 10.1 acre, and 1.6 acres off of Honey Hollow Road out of Winslow. No technical concerns, no comments.
Any public comment on that one? All right, Blake?
The next item is the Anderson minor subdivision. It is a 2-tract split of about 4.5 acres and 1 acre off of North River Ridge Road in Fayetteville. There's no technical concerns, no comments received.
Those were my comments. I apologize. I thought it was number B.
So your comments need to go in reference to
To Anderson, like D.
Anderson Minor?
Yes, I apologize.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, that's all right. Okay. Blake?
The next item is the Emmerich minor subdivision. It is a 2-tract split of about 10 acres and 3.4 acres near Highway 16 and North River Ridge. No technical concerns, no comments received from neighbors.
Anybody want to comment on item E? All right, Blake?
The next item is the Fanning minor subdivision. 2-tract split of about 5.9 acres and 1.5 acres east of Highway 74 and McGuire. No concerns from planning department.
Anybody want to comment on item F? All right, Blake?
The next item is the Steve Wilson minor subdivision, which is a 4-tract split consisting of lots about 3.9 acres, 3.7 acres, and 2 more 3.7 acre tracts off Delgado, north of Highway 71. No concerns.
Any comment on item G? Anyone? Public? All right, Blake?
Next item is retract of Plat C, Stevens minor subdivision. It's a 2-tract split, 1 acre and 2.45 acres off of Bethel Blacktop, west of Rhine. No concerns.
Any comment from the public on item H? All right, Blake?
The next item is the replat of Dale Vernon minor subdivision. This is a minor sub replat, 1 acre and 5.7 acres. It's converting 3 lots into 2. No concerns.
Anybody in the public want to comment on item I? All right, Nathan, if you'll come state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good evening, Nathan Crouch with Balloon Associates representing this project, and I just wanted to piggyback on what Blake was saying there, that the impetus behind this request was for the applicant to vacate an unbuilt county road. It was a platted road that came through that subdivision, it was never built, and it'd be on your plat page 2, and I've got one copy here if you'd like to see it, if you don't have it before you.
Okay, okay. Anyone else?
Question for Nathan. Has the vacation process been initiated? Yes.
Are you referring to a notification process for the road vacate?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for asking. The applicant is handling that. Our company doesn't handle legal processes such as that, and so he is having his own legal team handle the road vacate. And yes, he has begun that process with the county clerk, and he's writing up the petitions and going and getting signatures and everything like that.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
The final item is the Atkins minor subdivision. It's a 4-tract split consisting of 5.8 acres, 5 acres, 3.5 acres, and 18.8 acres off of Elkhorn Springs, west of Fayetteville.
And I'm assuming you've got something to say. All right,
I'm sorry.
Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
I'm Tom Williams. I live adjacent to the property there on 14813 Elkhorn Springs Road. And I have three major concerns over this addition. The first is, when we first moved out there, we've lived there for almost 20 years. This land was all this cattle. We live in this little section here. There's the three little groves. Each one of these groves is a real big ravine, maybe 20 feet deep and 30, 40 feet wide, and a lot of rock. And when it rains, the land goes into these ravines and just inundates us. Now, when the cattle were there, we didn't have that problem. But after Homer sold it, more structures were built, more roads were built, and we're getting more and more runoff. Can I give you these?
Yeah.
Okay. Picture 1 shows a typical 1-inch rain. Our house is over there to the left, and you can see the volume of water. Well, the next hour, that water got up to the middle beam of that tin on the side of the building. Flooded our house probably for the 5th time. So picture 2 shows what I ended up having to build, a big retaining wall. And as the concrete guy who came out and we were talking about it, he says, don't you want your wall up against the dirt to hold the dirt back? And I said, no, I gotta get this water off our houses. And he says, well, we better build it a little bit bigger because they're building houses up on your hill. And I said, what? And then I received your letter that they were doing it. Picture 3 is how the water runs through our road from these ravines. On the back, picture 4 is our easement. Notice there's no erosion when the land is equal. Picture 5 is the type of soil that's in that ravine, really rocky and shelly. And picture 6 is the water running into the culvert off of Elkhorn Springs. So you notice a lot of volume of water. We've tried 2 things. One is the wall, and in this ravine here, we had a dozer cut a ditch that went all the way through the back, and so we could channel it to the county culvert. So we're making our amends with the water, but these big ravines gather the water because of the land contour. You know, there's not much land management that's been taking place there. So that's one issue, is the drainage. The second issue, I'm assuming you've got a copy of this survey.
Mr. Williams, let me just state right quick, you've got a 3-minute limit, but if you'll
Okay.
just process through, we'll go at it.
All right, good. Is this road, this literature that you had here, my property and Coy Ball's property match. There's a road there that Coy gave them 5 or 10 feet to drive up and down. When Homer sold it, the lady wanted 10 feet, so they gave him 10 feet on the land. The land is Coy Ball's. And now I'm seeing that they want a 30-foot right-of-way. So that's an issue. Who owns that property? We do. Now they want the. And the last issue, just found this out yesterday. It's an environmental hazard. Our culvert's been getting stuck with tires. And this picture is on the back side of the Atkins property. You can see tires, a big kind of a sunken mud. And so all that stuff is floating in to my property. I hope I've given you 3 examples of why we should hold off on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to comment on that particular one? State your name and address, please, sir.
Jeremy Williams. I live on the property adjacent at 14813 Elkhorn Springs Road. I operate my business out of that property. My biggest concern is similar to my father's with the water issues. He's more involved in it than I have been on the west side. My business is on the north side of our property. Our neighbors to the north, they started mining red dirt about the time that Homer sold his land and logged off his land when the water issues really started getting bigger. There was supposed to be a retaining wall or a dike or something to stop the water from running onto our property. It was not done. We lost about 12 feet of the business pad for my business's shop. When that happened, they were told they had to build that dike or dam or whatever to deflect the water around, but they didn't have to do anything for the pad that was destroyed for my shop. And so I just want to prevent that from happening in the future. So if this happens, yes, it's 4 lots right now, but that's the only first phase of this. Is who's responsible when this is built up and then we're catching all the water because they're on the hilltop? We've also got our family cemetery on this property. I want to make sure that's preserved, my family. And then the right-of-way access, but I'm the executor of this, my dad's trust, so it's eventually going to be my problem. So that's why I'm here. Just some real concerns. If there's a way we can make sure that the water runoff is not an issue, that's my goal here, is just make sure we have somebody who's responsible instead of just split it off. 2 years later, splits off another 4 or 5. 2 years later, another 4 or 5. And then we're stuck with everything and there's no one with responsibility. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Nathan Crouch with Balloon Associates representing Kyle Atkins. So our applicant is in the crowd if you'd like to ask him some questions as well. But I just wanted to go over a few things, some notes that I took. Beginning with drainage, as drainage patterns evolve and increase in the area, it's going to increase stormwater drainage down at that creek down there. And I understand there's floodplain down at the bottom of the hill associated with that creek as well. Our plat shows that the subject property is not within a floodplain, and so the floodplain regulations don't extend onto this property. Now, the stormwater drainage report would be required on a higher level plat than this one, and we're only seeking minor subdivision on this one because at Mr. Atkins' attorney's recommendation, it needed to be platted in order for him to apply covenants and restrictions to the property. He wanted to come through with a family split first because this property is going to be split up and is going to be distributed between mother-in-law, himself, the brother-in-law, and a friend. And so they already know who's getting these lots. And indeed, down the road, if the friend or the brother-in-law ended up selling the property or splitting it up and selling the property, yeah, it's nothing that we can control today. But as far as that goes, the reason we're here for minor subdivision is at his attorney's insistence because he wants to do covenants and restrictions in order to keep the place nice. He didn't put those tires there, and the road has been there for at least 10 years, and it's paved up to the top of the hill. And incidentally, he just told me that the person who built the wall that Mr. Williams is mentioning, that same builder is working on Mr. Atkins' property, and so he's well aware of the drainage issues going on the property. And indeed, if we need to talk to Mr. Ball about getting an access easement coming up through there 30 feet. And I'll remind everybody that that's 30-foot access and utility easement doesn't mean that it needs to be a 30-foot constructed right-of-way or road. The road isn't going to increase in width or anything. The road is already existing. And so that's all that I had on this one. Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir. Anybody else have any comments on that one? All right, Does anybody in the board have any questions?
So we're gonna make a vote.
Mr. Chairman, what I was wondering about on this Atkins one, on the approval comments, Blake, did we talk about, runoff and drainage and?
No.
No comments about anything about?
I received a phone call inquiring about the
So
meeting.
if he increases, the neighbor increases the water that goes over here and it causes damage on this guy's property, the only recourse he has is through legal means, is the way I would think.
Yes, it's like a land split, basically.
And that would probably be the only, I mean, we don't enforce stuff like that, so, he does need to be warned that.
Yeah, we don't request any drainage reports or anything unless if it's like a higher, higher level
Yeah.
project.
Well, it seems like there's some serious problems there already, and that, it's only gonna get worse if things are not taken care of, by the neighbors and by the current landowner. It just, they need to work together to make that work out, okay.
Anybody else got any other questions? All right, then I'll take a motion on the consent agenda of items A through J.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve items A through J under the consent agenda.
I've got a motion.
I'll second the motion.
I've got a second. Do I need to take a roll call, or is everybody comfortable? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Items A through J. Moves us all the way down to Fayetteville Planning Area, item K, which is the Pops Cato Preliminary LSD. Blake?
Thank you. The POPS preliminary
I
LSD.
tell you what, Blake, let's let the room clear out. All right, Blake, let's go again.
Thank you kindly. The POPS Cato preliminary LSD is to serve a 60,000 square foot warehouse currently under construction, just due west of Cato Springs in the Fayetteville planning area. There's an operation currently not in business in the frontage on Cato Springs, and a building due east of there under construction. A drainage report was conducted by an engineering firm that showed that there's not concern about excess runoff into existing channels. The improved runoff would be marginal at most. Here's a picture of facility under operation, and in the rear is under construction. Planning conditions would be for the applicant to continue the LSD process through final. The applicant is here if you have any questions.
The conditional use permit was approved like in June and was ratified in July by the Quorum Court.
Okay.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to say, and I thought I saw it on the minutes, so, okay. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions for Blake from the board? Any public comment, or, sorry. Does the owner want to say anything?
I did email it.
If you come to, you'll just come to state your name and address, please.
Joe Maynard, 495 Willock Street, South Fayetteville. I did send an email to each of you to your regular address. Hope you got that. And
Yep.
that pretty much sums up what we're doing.
Okay,
And the neighbors, of course, are all on board.
okay, thank you. Does anybody in the audience want to comment on this particular project? Okay, to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the Pops Cato preliminary LSD, subject to staff comments.
Motion,
Second.
got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Under conditional use permit hearings, Fayetteville Planning Area, item L, Donna, and I'm assuming Sowell, residential CUP. Blake?
Thank you. The Donna Soul Residential CUP is a family tract split, creating two lots, or approving for Fayetteville to approve a two-lot split of about 0.8 acre and just short of 1 acre in size. The conditional use permit would allow for Fayetteville to approve or not approve the tract split.
Okay.
I do not know if the applicant is here to represent.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Blake? All right.
Representative here, if you
You want
want.
to speak for the applicant, Nathan?
Yes, sir, thank you. Nathan Crouch, Balloon Associates, representing the Sal's on this one. Just received this letter. You guys might have seen it or heard about it. Planning director just handed it to me. It's from the regional planning director saying that the approval authority within the planning area lies with the city, and that's rooted in state law. And indeed, that's how it works. But in order to get this approved through the city, they're going to need to have some, to address the acreage. And recently, they have kind of revived an old effort to stop doing residential CUPs, because the CUP in Washington County is kind of a hybrid zoning strategy anyway, and the CUP might not quite be proper for creating lots of less than 1 acre. But whenever you don't have another zone to rezone the property to, that basically just eliminates all creation of new lots less than 1 acre. And so the reason I stepped up here is just to let you know that this is a family split. And if it were not in the planning area, although it is, we'd come through with an exemption to do a family split, of course, after the residential CUP was approved. And so all of that being said, Mrs. Sowell is going to gift the back lot to her nephew, and he owns adjacent property also. And so if this doesn't, if the board is inclined to deny this project because it's residential CUP, then I might ask to simply table it. That way we can come back with a property line adjustment.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it, thank you.
All right. Anybody in the public want to comment on this particular project? All right, to the board.
Mr. Chair, question to staff. I know I've asked this before. I don't remember. Conditional use permit on a residential split, does that run with the applicant or with the property?
With the
With
property.
the property owners.
Okay. So it would go if the property was sold and it wasn't a spouse
Yes,
or
sir.
a family split?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd feel more comfortable if it was combined with the adjacent property, if it was the same owner.
So we'll table this until like it's processed in a different way.
I can be persuaded, though. I just feel more comfortable with it.
I think if that's what's going to happen, I think we got a thumbs up, so if that's what you prefer, you can make a motion if you want to.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this item in lieu of splitting it, and so they can come back with a track, what would that be called? A combination?
Yep.
Lot combination,
PLA, property line adjustment.
property
Okay.
line adjustment, exactly. Thank you.
I'll
right, I've got a
second that
motion.
motion.
Second? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Table. Next is Greenland Planning Area, item M, Top Kick Trail Retreat CUP. Blake?
Thank you. Top Kick Trail is an outdoor event venue that's going to be situated on about 1/2 of an acre on a property that's overall about 42 acres. It will consist of a 2-story, 1,200 square foot log cabin and outdoor event venue, along with a 40-spot gravel parking lot. Photos have been provided of the area of interest. Planning conditions would include no amplified music. That's the biggie that always comes up. Other than that, planning department has no concerns.
Yeah, so no amplified outside, but if they're gonna play music indoors, it has to be like within.
Yeah, it's a 1,200 square foot little log house cabin, so.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Blake? All right, is the owner here? Would they like to speak? You'll state your name and address for the record, please, sir?
Ronnie Carter.
Here, I'll need you to come up here, Ron.
Had a little accident last Friday.
It was okay when he applied.
Staff's getting rough.
Oh, man, yeah, I put a rod down my knee Friday,
Ooh.
yeah. But my name's Ronnie Cartwright, and my address is 470 West Top Kick Trail. I've owned this piece of property for about 22 years, and it's just roughly about 4 miles from the U of A, 5 miles. It's very remote. There's no neighbors real close to it, and it's got quite the views, and a lot of people is very interested in maybe having a gathering there. So I'm kind of pursuing that for the interest of the people. And it's got a huge, large pond that I'm gonna let people fish. And my ideal of it is since the cabin can just hold, like up to 6 people or something for his overnight, my ideal is have an outside retreat thing, gathering place for a lot less cost than the rest of them out there today.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it that I can think of.
Question, why 40 parking spaces? That seems like an excessive number.
Well, the 40, the spots is just, for example, if they wanted to have an outdoor wedding, the road's plenty wide enough, and the spot out to the east of the cabin is more than big enough for, to have an outdoor wedding. And basically, my thought was, people show up, they go to the wedding, and then there would not be any indoor festivities other than just hosting maybe the food, and then the people, say that 6 people could spend the night there.
Are you gonna have any sort of public restrooms or?
Yes, yeah, the house, and then I've talked to several of the porta potty places that
Okay.
they're willing to work with me on short notice. Anytime you have something a little bit bigger, they will help me out on the.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Mr. Cartwright.
Thank y'all.
Does anybody in the audience want to comment on this particular project? All right. To the board.
Blake, have you driven out to this place?
I have not.
Just wondering what's the road like out to there?
It's a 60-foot easement. You can actually pass, going up, it's about a half a mile dirt road. And you can actually pass each other with seeing distance. The road's really wide.
Okay.
So there will not be no real traffic issues.
Yeah, it's off like 71.
Okay.
Yeah, 71's never congested there in that area.
All right. All right. To the board.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for recommendation of approval of CUP, Top Kick Trail Retreat CUP as presented, subject to staff comments and requirements.
Got a motion?
Second.
Get a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes. Good luck, sir. All right, last item on the agenda tonight, county, item N, J&J Concrete Pumping CUP. Blake?
Thank you. The last item is J&J Concrete Pumping CUP, east of Sonora in Springdale. This CUP is to get a currently operating business into compliance with county ordinance. It's operating out of a shop building adjacent to residential structures, and materials and heavy equipment are transported on-site and also off-site. There's been a lot of concerns from neighbors about the CUP. To date, we've received 8 complaints. And the general impetus is safety, in that Sherry Road is a very narrow 2-lane road with no shoulder, and the access easement is a mere 10 feet, extending into the little, extending into the residential area. There's significant concern with large vehicles, with little area to maneuver and avoid pedestrians. The access easement was designed as a light-use road, not intended for heavy vehicles. General nuisance concerns of loud equipment and employees coming in and out at odd hours of the day and night, and sometimes having between 8 and 10 vehicles parked on site. Another citizen stated that the current activity does not accurately reflect the CUP request, and that there's other operating businesses, including High Star Construction and a landscaping firm. The general concern also is the disruption of private enjoyment of property with noise and debris strewn about the site. And also a concern about pressure washing concrete pumps onto the soil. We started receiving complaints back in December of 2021 from adjacent property owners about the CUP process not being followed. And later the same month, planning staff went by to verify what the complaints were. And between January and March of this year, more complaints were received pertaining to storage of heavy construction equipment, vehicles coming in and out all the time. And in March, we reached out to the property owners indicating a need for a CUP if commercial use continues. Between April and July, the county attorney sent a cease and desist letter, and then the sheriff deputies have had multiple contacts with the property owners. In addition to what I understand to be 2 citations from the sheriff's department. In July, the property owners have applied for the CUP process.
Is that it?
That's it.
Can scroll down like the picture, so it will give you like
Right.
more.
Yeah. Looking at this, that's right below that new subdivision that got put in, and then just north of that is the schools, right? Both schools?
It's a little bit further east of there.
Okay. So basically, questions were arose in December. They were informed. January, March, we got nothing. You visited.
That-
I
There's
visited
a
the
cease
site,
and
I
desist
visited the
in
site,
April?
like, yes, sir,
Right.
And then it still took till July to get an application for a CUP.
yes, sir.
So, my question with this, trying to figure out how to state this.
The property owners are here, if you wanna talk, like,
I understand.
having a question for them.
If this is voted no, and you've issued a cease and desist in April, and this has continued to go on, how does it stop?
Well, as you know, like, we don't have like an enforcement, like, department in the planning or like the, when it comes to stuff like this, so we normally like, use our partnership with the sheriff's office, so we ask them, and like whenever they have the time to be able to send like a deputy to be able like to send any sort of information or at least discuss it with the owners and give citations sometimes. But we don't have an enforcement, and that's why like we normally like inform the applicants with with few educational conversation, like we say this is how it's supposed to be, and this is how the code of ordinance work in the county, and like we encourage you like to apply for a conditional use permit or like any other processes.
Okay, so my next question is, if a cease and desist was issued in April,
Yes, sir.
they've still continued to do business on
Yes,
this
sir.
property since then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if you need if any of the board members need a copy of this, we already have it, so I can email it to all of you, or we can include this like in the packet.
If the sheriff's, if the cease and desist has been issued, can you barricade the road to the property? Is that possible? Is that legal?
I doubt it, because like it's an easement like used by like different property owners, like that leads to their home, so you can't barricade anything.
So they don't own the whole property?
No, I mean, you own a portion of the property, which is like the 6 acres, but like the surrounding area, it has like an easement. If you can't see, Blake, can you show that, the presentation?
Let's take a look.
So that, the one like from the left, or like the west, going south, that is like the easement, shared easement for like all the property. That's one of them, but like there is adjacent property like to the west of that, south and north. So they all share that. Basically. That's Sherry Road here, and
Yes.
that's on the axis,
Okay.
and that takes to this, all properties surrounding.
Okay.
If you can go back and show the neighbor, yes. Yeah, go up a little bit.
Where did I, those are lower.
Like, there's the neighbor's like map.
Oh, the neighbor
Yeah,
map.
that was before that. Yes. Yeah, so that's the road up there.
Okay,
And that leads to it. So that's Sherry Road, that's the easement, it takes
gotcha.
all the properties. I mean, if you
Do you
go
know
on-
when this property was created?
What's that?
When this parcel was created, do you know?
It's, in 2020, July 2020, they applied for an address, and they applied for, the same time they applied for like a land split, and it was split like into 3 from 6.2, I guess, to 2 point something each. And that's the plat we have, but I don't think it's being like deeded, so that's why like it's considered as like still like technically and like as one chunk of like 6 acres. But it's been split between them, the 3 owners.
Okay, so.
So
that one-
the shop is like only on like a section,
Oh, I
track
see,
C.
three
But it's
parcels.
still like technically, yeah, it's 3 parcels, but it's like ABC, but technically it's all of it as like one still.
One owner.
It hasn't been like deeded yet.
One more question from me.
Yes, sir.
December 21. One business operating there, all 3 businesses operating there.
The concern was like there is like at least like 2 businesses, like landscaping and the J&J. So that's like from my understanding. When I went there, like I didn't see as much, but when we did like multiple visits, we started like taking pictures, so we saw multiple.
We can't tell you with definity
Yeah.
how many were in effect in December of
It-
2021.
yes. But there was activity going on.
So if there are 3 businesses there, now they all owned by the same owner? Don't
I do not know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. Anybody else got any questions? All right. The owner's here. Do you want to speak? Okay. You'll come forward and state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Jessica Serrano, and my address is 20108 Sherry Road. So I'm the applicant for the conditional permit for J&J Concrete Pumping. So I know there's some questions as to how many business we operate. The landscaping, there's no such thing. I think it said Ricardo and as something like that. That is not a business. I think there's some confusion there. Ricardo is my husband. He does construction, but he does not own a business. So he does have a dually truck that comes in and out of the property every day because we live there, and that's his personal truck as his work truck. So as for that truck, it's his personal use truck. J&J Concrete Pumping, that's my dad's business. So if I remember right, in 2021, he still hadn't built a shop yet. So I don't believe, maybe he was keeping one pump there, but we weren't operating from there. Until this day, he only parks the pumps in the driveway. And I read on the description that it says that there's 8 to 10 employees parked. There's only maximum 3 employees, and that's not every day. He has just one set employee, and if he needs more help, then he calls other people, but it's not an everyday thing. I understand that the neighbors are concerned about the noise, and sometimes most of the noise comes from the dually trucks, and since he does work early in the morning, sometimes he gets out of there early in the morning. But our neighbors have placed some speed bumps on the entrance, so I think that what's causing most of the noise is from the speed bumps. Every time the truck goes on the speed bumps, it makes a loud thud noise when it goes by there. And I know there was a long period of time between the conditional use permit, whenever we got notified, and whenever the permit was submitted. So there was some miscommunication whenever I've been in contact with Sam, who's been very helpful. The first time, I think the first complaint was that there was some construction dump on the property. We do have some concrete and some dirt that was dumped on our property because we're using it to fill the land, because we're planning to construct a garage next to our house. On my dad's property, there was some concrete dumped in there too. He wanted to use it as fill too, but at the end he decided he was not gonna use it, so we ended up removing it. So that's not there anymore. And there was like about 2 times when the sheriff went out there, and he had said, there's business right out of here, and we talked to them, and we're like, we don't have an office here, we don't operate out of here, just the pumps come and park, and then they leave, that's all there is. And he was like, oh, yeah, I don't see any business running out of here, so you guys are good. So at that moment, we're like, okay, if he's saying we're good, then it should be okay. And then I think then Sam went out there, and I had a conversation with him because I think he had been informed that there was a landfill, a waste field out there. And I believe it was you that I talked to.
Yeah, the environmental department, like, went there like maybe a year ago, and like late Mr. Harp, he issued like a citation, and there is some of the pictures, if you can see it, like it has like burning. So that was like multiple stuff happening at the same time, and that's why like we went out there just to investigate, make sure. Yeah, one of the slides that will show, and like Jessica's being always like responsive, and like she actually like let her like lawyer calling me, so I can explain exactly how the process works. And after that, they applied for the conditional use permit. But yeah, there was like lots of activities happening, and that's why like we went out there.
Okay.
Yeah, so whenever I talked to Sam, and I was like, we're not just dumping trash all over the place because we feel like we can do that. There was some construction. We had just got done with doing construction in our house, So there was some construction stuff laying around, which we cleaned up. There's still some construction on my dad's side because he just got done doing his shop. And there was also my cousin on the other side who just built his house. So there was a lot of commotion, a lot of trucks coming in and out, concrete coming in and out, but a lot of it was due to the construction. Now, it's just the 2 concrete pumps that come in and out all day. And all he's asking for is to store the pumps in the shop and let his employee parked in the driveway.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, I'll now open it up to public comment. I'll remind you that it's a limit of 3 minutes. If you're speaking for a group, you're allowed 10 minutes. So just kind of be respectful of everybody's comments and time. And, you know, if somebody says something, let's try not to be repetitive. We'll catch it all. But if you'll state your name and address for the record, that'll be great.
Yes, my name is Brittany Melton. I live at 20116 Sherry Road. My property touches the property that is requesting a CUP, and I strongly believe that this property should not be granted a permit for commercial use. Over the past year or so, I have witnessed unpermitted business activity being conducted on this property, so I can speak from experience how these businesses have already negatively affected our area. Let me just start by saying that one of the biggest reasons they should be denied is that in order to access this property, they must cross over my property through an easement. They do not have any direct access to their property from a public road. A business using my property to bring heavy trucks and equipment could severely damage my property value. The amount of traffic that this has already produced creates a lot of noise and disturbs the peace. In addition, is adding more wear and tear on the small road. Since the private drive off of Sherry Road is only 10 foot wide, this is also a safety issue. No 2 cars can pass, and large work vehicles and equipment coming and going creates a safety concern for all the families that use this driveway properly. The road is not designed for such a heavy load of traffic. It was created as a private driveway, not a commercial access. In addition, the paved driveway is 60 foot from my front door. So large trucks and trailers constantly coming and going creates added safety concerns for my family, my pets, and any visitors that I have to my home. Also, the permit request is for 1 employee to pick up 1 pump, but I have witnessed many different vehicles and trucks coming to the property daily to pick up various work equipment. They come at all hours of the day. We've documented as early as 4 a.m. and as late as 11 p.m., and this happens almost 7 days a week. They haul in excavators, skid steers, concrete buggies, and other construction material. In addition, they constantly have a pile of construction rubble and trash strewn about their property that is unsightly and unkept and does not complement our neighborhood, but instead it detracts from the beauty of it. Not to mention the unknown environmental impact that this could have. Also, they do not park any of their work vehicles in a shop as mentioned in their application. They park their trucks and trailers randomly over the 6 acres. Lastly, they have been contacted by multiple agencies about illegal trash dumping and trash burning on the property. And like has been mentioned, they received a cease and desist that they've completely ignored. So clearly this shows that they have a lack of respect for local laws and regulations and consideration for all their neighbors. This reputation does not fit someone that should be given special consideration. Thank you for hearing my comments.
Next, name and address, please, sir.
Brandon Melton. My address is 20116 Sherry Road. My property adjoins the applicant's property to the west. So I strongly oppose the approval of the CUP for J&J Concrete Pumping for these following reasons. The first is that these property owners utilize their property for commercial activity. It would be an excessive abuse to that access easement that was mentioned. And it's been there for nearly 30 years, that 10-foot road. It was gravel, and now it's paved. And the intention was for individuals to access their homes and their farms. If the application is approved, it would have to question really the legality of having a CUP where they have to cross my property with these business trucks and activity, and that would kind of affect this legal binding easement that's already been in place for residential and agricultural use. Second is the private drive that they would need to use is only 10 foot wide, that, as has been mentioned. And this access road is shared by 8 different families, including them, which causes a huge safety concern. Not only is the private drive narrow, once they pull out to Sherry Road, heading to the north or south, that road's very narrow, and there's no shoulder. There's a blind hill right when you turn out. The turnout is kind of hidden as you crest that hill, and there's no street lights, so these road conditions cause it for trucks and trailers, whenever they turn out, they cross the center line many times. So that right there is a safety concern. This risk could cause an accident, could injure somebody. So at that, with this CUP application, I'd like to know, is there insurance coverages for these businesses to protect the people and the property that they would affect? So third, the application submitted for J&J Concrete Pumping. I've documented multiple other businesses, as been mentioned here in the presentation, that store equipment and trailers on that property. That's the High Star Construction, Rick and St. Mart Landscaping or General Construction, R&S, and H Concrete Pumping will bring their equipment out there. So I had the same question, why were they not included on the original application? It kind of seems like maybe they're not wanting to disclose all of the business activity to the planning board and try to get a blanket approval just for J&J. The application was for 1 pump and 1 truck, but I documented as many as 3 different pumps and trucks using that property for storage, and they bring the equipment down and repair the equipment and pressure wash the equipment. There's also many other trucks, landscaping trailers, gooseneck trailers, heavy equipment that comes down there in and out throughout the day. It's not just in the morning, it's all day long. They're coming and going, different trucks bringing materials. And nothing's ever parked in the shop. It's always out in the field, as been mentioned. So the application doesn't reflect their activity. And fourth, the activity of these businesses have already become a nuisance for many reasons, as you'll hear in the public comments. There's bright commercial lighting on their shop and other buildings that shine onto the neighbor's property, and that's disturbing. The amount of traffic causing the noise that's been mentioned and damaging that road that I had paved. Simply put, their activity is devaluing the surrounding properties and does not complement the area. Approving their application would only exacerbate the issue. So thank you for hearing my comments, and I trust you will take my comments and the other comments seriously and deny this application.
Thanks, sir. Next, anyone else? You'll state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Bryce Gerlach. I'm a resident at 20074 Sherry Road. My property sits to the immediate south of the property in question. My primary concern, obviously, is safety. I think it's been well documented by the previous two, how it's a narrow road, both the access easement coming off of Sherry Road, but Sherry Road itself is very narrow. And pulling long trailers out onto Sherry Road, you have to use the entirety of the road to adequately pull out a trailer. And like Mr. Melton said, it is a blind hill coming to it. So it's really not a question of if there will be an accident, it's when it will occur. Another concern that I have is obviously environmental. There's been waste, whether it's from construction. I know they've had some storage, and there's construction, and I get that. But waste has been out there in that field for well over a year. A lot of that can be plastics. There's been multiple instances where I have a stand of tall, just let the native grass grow to the very east of my property, and that stuff blows onto my property. I have to go out there, I have to pick it up. That's happened multiple times. I've asked for it to be cleaned up a couple times. Sometimes it gets cleaned up, sometimes it doesn't. Also, with all those piles out there, you can't really keep up a property. You can't cut down weeds, et cetera, because they grow through all the rubble. So we have a lot of weeds growing up in there, and those are going to seed out, and then those are going to migrate everywhere else. Also, who knows what kind of pests, rodents can be harbored in that type of environment. Another concern I have is the driveway degradation. So they've talked about the road coming in immediately from Sherry Road. Then there is a rock road that stretches to the south. I was the first person in this area, so I had to pay for that road by myself. And when we built that, I said it's light, low traffic. So we did not dig it down, 2 foot and fill in with red dirt and come on top of rock. So it isn't made for lots of traffic, especially heavy truck traffic, 4, 5, 6 passes every single day. The final thing I want to talk about is just noise. It's constantly noisy. Sitting on my patio to the south, I have a gorgeous view. And you sit out there, enjoy the sunset, and then you hear rumbling coming down the road. Trailers rumbling everywhere. Like they said, I've heard it, 5:30 in the morning waking me up. I've had it at 11:30 waking me up when I'm going to bed at night. And then on top of that, I've even had there's a slope to the south on that. There was one instance where they didn't properly block a trailer and the trailer came through my property. Now they did go down and get it. There were some ruts. They did go out and fill the ruts, but how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? You can't guarantee it won't happen again. I've unhooked lots of trailers in my life growing up on a farm. Sometimes you forget. And what happens the next time if I'm out there, if my nieces and nephews are out there, if my pet's out there, and they forget to do it? And then we have another hazard. So that's the bulk of my comments. Appreciate the time, and hopefully you see our side of the story.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Just state your name and address, please.
My name is Kathy Melton.
Wait a minute, if you'll do it in the...
Okay. My name is Kathy Melton, and I presently live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. However, my husband and I are building our retirement home right there at 20096 Sherry Road. We decided to build there because we knew that it had been zoned for residential and agriculture only. However, in our middle of our build, we've been there 5 months building our home, those ordinances are not being abided by. And as stated, I don't want to be saying things again and again, but the concrete pumping business, it's being used every day, every night, late, early. Also, one thing that I was concerned about is my husband is 73 years old, and he has heart problems. And the dust, just the dust off of that gravel road coming in and out, boils up, it sifts over into our land, and it's choking to us. And it settles on everything. So I think that could be minimized without all of the trucks going across that. Also, again, there was a lot of debris out there. I can document 8 to 10 cars at one time on this land, in front of the houses, in front of the garages, whatever. And then the power washing, I think that's an environmental waste problem. And they do not have permits, and yet they still run this business with a cease and desist. So my husband and I asked that their application for a CUP to run their business be denied so that we can preserve the roads, our homes, our safety, our beautiful surroundings, and the consideration of our neighbors. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Anyone else? All right. If the applicant would like to have a rebuttal, you're more than welcome to. If not, I'll move it to the board.
So like I mentioned before, I totally understand their concern for the noise and the traffic. I have to mention that there is 3 families living out there. There's me and my husband, my 2 kids, my cousin, his wife, his 2 kids, my dad, my mom, and my sister. So between all of those people, there's about 7 vehicles, 1 for each person. My husband has 2 trucks. So most of the traffic that they're talking about comes from our own personal vehicles. My brother owns a dually truck too, and I understand his truck is very loud, but that's his personal truck. So even though if we don't have the pumps at the property, his personal truck still makes a lot of noise, if that makes sense. Also, the road, our neighbors have put a rock on the corner of their property as a landscaping. There's a 60-feet easement that's not being respected. We have talked to our lawyer, and he has mentioned that that rock is blocking. Even with my car, it's hard for me to turn that corner. So we're not trying to make any problems with them. So we have made the road wider onto my cousin's property, taken from his property, just so they can have their landscaping and we don't bother it. So we're trying to be compliant with everything, and we're not trying to bother them or do this on purpose to be annoying. And like I was mentioning before, we're not trying to be defiant with authorities and not doing as they tell us. But there was some confusion at the beginning on the stuff that was supposed to be kept there. But as soon as we were told that we needed to do the conditional use permit, we started in the process. We even got a lawyer to help us with that, and he's been helping us with that. So we've been trying to make it right. I just don't want you guys to get the impression that we don't care and that we're just trying to destroy everything around us, because that's not what's happening out there.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I think I might have a couple of questions, Blake.
Joel, we can always like make a conditions that like if we need to restrict between certain times, quiet times, number.
Has there been a bit, what as far as business license in the county?
There is no such thing.
There is no such thing.
Yeah, that's why they apply for a conditional use permit as business.
Okay, I can't get my thing to zoom in. What is the easement? How wide is that easement?
30 feet.
On legal? Yeah, on legal, okay.
Yeah, only
But it's only 10 feet wide paved.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and since like the property, the Milton's property and like their property is like 20 foot away from the main road.
So
or, like,
you just
the
confirm
county
it on
road.
their property, because there's the red for property. That's the easement. It's a dedicated easement with 10 feet of concrete. So this is the people we've been talking to, and they turn the corner. There's 3 houses. There's 3 houses on that 6 acres. And then the other guy we talked to is down here.
Oh, okay. Bryce lives down there.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but there is a legal easement, but it's only 10 foot paved, and it's basically a private drive from Sherry back from those 8 lots.
You know, my concern is conditions. I don't know that the conditions will be followed. That's my concern. But that's my concern. Easement approval, vehicles. I'm just making sure I didn't miss a question I wanted to ask.
Blake, when they say large trucks, are we talking 1-ton trucks or 2-ton trucks or
Typically, I think about like 2,500, you know,
F-250s,
Right.
Yeah.
F-350s?
Yeah, do it trucks like with like the trailers, and sometimes like they have like stuff on top of them. and the big
Goosenecks and
concrete,
Goosenecks, 20,000-pound goosenecks
and concrete pumps, like,
and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, we're not talking about like semis.
You know what the concrete, pumper trucks weigh and all the trailers? About 10,000 pounds? So they're on like 14K trailers? Yeah. but
Okay, I
they're-
got one more question for Mr. Ronald. When was the shop built? All right, that's all the questions, I guess. Anybody else got any more?
Mr. Chairman, in reviewing the situation and being familiar with similar situations out in the county, I don't see how that our zoning precludes them from doing what they're doing, because their activity is not on their property, they're just parking their vehicles on their property. And, you know, they primarily live there, that's their way of life, but their work is off in other areas. And, you know, if in fact that the 30-foot easement that was there, they had only put 2 units, which is the current rules, as I understand, if that's not correct, on a 30-foot easement, then, but that didn't happen. It was evidently approved with more properties being served by a 30-foot easement. So I don't see how we cannot, and I don't even see why they need a conditional use permit personally.
Can you answer that? Is it because of the businesses that are out there operating is the reason why?
Right.
The reason why you have to ask for the CUP?
Right.
Okay.
Being that it seems to be a hub of operation, vehicles coming in and out, and employees also. So it seemed like a natural fit.
Okay.
I understand what you're talking about, but that's not where they pump concrete. That's all they do is
True.
park their equipment there.
True.
Yeah, and when I visited back in like December, there was no construction, I mean, like there was no building, but I guess there was like a platform. So,
But we're unsure of what activity will now be happening with the new shop. And I guess overall, I mean, if it is asking for a CUP because we think they need to, because there is any operation of a business happening there, I mean, we're supposed to be looking at, is it adequate utilities, is it adequate roads? And to me, just from the images and the width, to me, the easement and the road and even Sherry Road don't seem adequate for a constant use of trucks. If there was no operating business and it was just a family, there wouldn't be nearly as many trucks coming and going, especially at that many hours. So to me, that's the biggest line on a CUP I don't feel like it can follow, is the adequate roads.
Yeah, it's definitely was proposed to be a residential area when it was put in.
yeah, and that's something, especially when you talk about like the easement, that's something that the county is not gonna be involved in, so not that something we can maintain.
Well, I guess that's one of my concerns. You've got 3 residences, 3 families living on this property. How are somebody gonna decide what's residential traffic versus what's business traffic? And who makes that decision?
Does anybody got any more questions? Concerns? All right, I'll take it to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to craft a motion that would approve residential use with no commercial, but how do you do that when their business is to drive in with a truck in the morning and leave and go to work, you know? It's hard to come with.
I mean, by right, they have like they have the use to do agricultural or residential one house per unit, like per acre, so.
Yeah, there's 3 lots sitting there.
Yeah, so 3 lots, they can have 3 homes, so.
Yeah.
So what specifically was the cease and desist? Cease and desist from doing what?
To stop like the operation of like the business, the J&J, and like the concrete pumping stuff.
Okay, so somebody
And
made the
authorized,
decision that there was a
and authorized
business.
commercial like use, basically,
Okay.
without applying for the proper permit. And just another clarification, because I discussed this like with Judge like a minute ago. So we give them enough time to apply and to be in compliant, and they did, but if this CUP gets like denied, there is no more cease and desist. We will have, like, the attorney will have like to transfer this to the prosecuting attorney so he can continue with that, so. That's nothing we can do further.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we deny the J&J Concrete Pumping CUP on the basis that it's being used as a commercial business in a residential area. They cease and desist using as a commercial area. They're more than welcome to build houses on the property and live there.
All right, got a motion to deny.
A second.
Got a second. Sam, let's do roll call.
Lisa, second?
I second.
You second.
And the motion is to deny.
Absolutely. So roll call for the motion to deny. Joel Kelsey,
Yes.
Philip Humbard,
Yes?
Neil Helm. No. Jay Piercy,
Yes.
Lisa Miller,
Yes.
Lauren Shackelford,
Yes.
Kiara Lors.
Yes.
So that would be 6
Motion is
against
denied,
one.
6 to 1.
Yeah.
Appeal process.
The appeal process, Sam? Blake? Quorum Court?
Right, it's before quorum court. They have 30 days
Yeah,
to,
so they do have 30 days to appeal, and I can provide you, Jessica, I will send you an email with the appeal and like all the information she needs. And we are, I mean, per our like ordinances, we can't send anything to the quorum court to be ratified either or until like the 30 days
got you.
passes. So this
Okay.
might take it to the following, so it would be maybe October.
Okay. Has been denied, and if you'll get with Sam, he'll guide you on the appeal process.
I'll email it tomorrow.
All right, that moves us on to other business. The first item up is Planning Board and Zoning Board of Adjustments member selection for the year 2023. So basically what that means is we'll vote on who will be the chair, the vice chair
Yes, sir.
for the upcoming.
Yes, sir. And like,
Upcoming.
if you're like, we know that you'll be leaving by the end of the year. So I guess like the process of like, getting a replacement, that has to go through like the judge, I believe.
Yeah, so we vote tonight. Is this my last meeting as chair or December, my last meeting?
December, yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, December, yeah, I mean, like Christmas
I
time,
am
you're out.
just clarifying.
So basically, November 3rd, you'll be like your first like time sitting on this chair. After that, you're out. Because the next one is gonna be January.
I got you. Okay. So,
No, there is one in December.
there's been a little discussion. If anybody wants to say anything or mention anything or motion anything, we'll take it.
So we do nominations?
We're doing nominations.
All right. Good. Nominate Lauren, chair.
All right, we've got a nomination for Lauren as the chair. We've got a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Who seconded?
Yeah, Lauren.
No, who seconded? Piercy one?
Philip seconded. All right, so now we need one for the vice chair.
So Philip is gonna stay as the vice chair.
Still stays vice chair. All right.
All righty.
All right, Blake, do you have anything in reference to the other items?
no, sir.
All right, next meeting is September the 29th.
And the following is the 3rd, November 3rd. And we
November
are
3rd.
also like in discussion with the county attorney to do some changes to the to the ordinance to make it like at least like streamlining the same way you have seen it as consent agenda.
Yes,
And other
absolutely.
stuff need to be changed to, as like Nathan mentioned, like when he explained about like the Dinosaur CUP, so we can at least be able like to adjust the process to make it like easier so you can go beyond like less than 1 acre to build like residential.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I agree with that. Anybody else? Y'all all good? Yeah. All right, meeting's adjourned.
Sorry I was late.
You were fine. We just signed you up for a